So on page Kuf Yud, then the second paragraph. Kama ro'os tuluyois bekina. How many bad things come about as a result of kina, jealousy? Nachash kadmoni niskane ba'odam rishon. The primal serpent, the Nachash, was jealous, envious of Adam Rishon. V'garam miso la'olam. As a result of this envy, he actually caused death to be brought into the world. Va'alav nigzar, and upon this Nachash, it was decreed by God, al gechoincha selech, on your belly you shall go, v'ofar toichal, and dust you shall eat. So that a person, I think this is connected to something that the author said earlier, although he doesn't necessarily make the connection explicitly, that you see that the result of envy is suffering, pain in one's innards, in one's belly, and in eating the equivalent of dust. And this is related to, I think, what he said before about a person who is envious brings in this, this venomous feeling of envy and jealousy within, which ultimately devours a person. That's one thing. And the second thing, remember he mentioned earlier that a person who's jealous doesn't even know the taste of the food he eats. Remember he said that yesterday? And that's related to, I didn't realize at the time, but I think that that's probably what he's referring to. He made both of these points in an earlier section, that a person who's consumed with envy burns up within, and also doesn't get pleasure even from the food that he eats, and that's connected to the Nachash, who was decreed upon to crawl on its belly and eat the dust from the earth. And go furthermore and see, consider what happened to Cain, who was envious of Hevel, Ulekoirach, who was envious of Moshe or Aaron, or whoever else he felt got position in his stead. Ulevilam, Uledoyag, Ulachitofel, Ulekachazi, Uladoniyah, Ulavshalom, Uliziyahu. Different personages throughout Tanakh who were consumed by envy, and ultimately that spelled their downfall. Doeg and Achitofel and Gechazi, Adonijah, who wanted to take the kingship away instead of Solomon, Shlomo, Avshalom also, Uziyahu, whose destruction came about because they placed their eyes on that which wasn't theirs. Lo dai mashe bikshu lo nitan lehem. Not only did they not get what they wanted, ela av mashe biyadam natal lehem, but even that which they had, they lost. I think that also parallels what we saw earlier, that the envious person would rather suffer so that another person suffers more, rather than he gain benefit if as a result of that another person is going to get more. So the result here is as well is he wants what isn't his, and he's going to end up losing even what is his. And from all these examples, a person should learn to separate himself, distance himself from being envious and being covetous. Because as a result of this, even that which is his is not his. And I think he means in two ways. Firstly, if he's envious of what other people has, he's not even happy with what he has now. In addition to that, as we saw in these precedents, what he has now, it will also not remain by him very long. Tomorrow will come, and he won't have it. So, of what value is there having what isn't his? So therefore, a person should be happy with what he's got. Again, if he feels like he could do with more, and it would be the will of Hashem, it would be good for him to do more, he would be doing the will of Hashem with that, then he can strive to, within normal means, to attain that. But if he does, whether he does or he doesn't ultimately get it, he has to keep his mind only on what he's got or doesn't have, and not measure that according to what other people have or don't have. The Ben Ish Chai gives a very interesting parable that in life a person should view himself as a person who is on a ladder. Regarding things of a spiritual nature, he should constantly be looking upward in order to go up, aspiring to be like those who are on a higher rung than he is. Regarding material things, he should be looking down, looking at those who have less of material advantage than he does in order to make him feel good with what he's got. Right? But not to be looking materially what people have more than him, and as a result of that aspire to attain what he doesn't need. Sechar gadol yesh la'adam, huh? You going to say something? Sechar gadol yesh la'adam hanizar min hakino umin hemda. There's great reward from people who do refrain from envy and from being covetous. Ki berov ha'averos im adam over alehem umisbayesh umonei atzmo bishvil abusha. Because regarding the majority of transgressions, if a person refrains from doing them because of embarrassment, monei atzmo min hagzela v'hagneva ki yareh shema yisvada v'yizgale v'yifarsemu. Or, for example, if he refrains from theft or stealing because he's afraid he's going to get caught, and it'll become public knowledge what he's done. V'yizbayesh v'yafsid harbe. And as a result of this, he'll become embarrassed and he'll lose. He has a lot to lose if his transgressions become public. But these transgressions are not actions; they're in a person's heart. And a person doesn't really know whether a person is being envious or jealous of another person or not. It's therefore something which is in the secret, in the privacy of one's heart. And regarding this, it says, "You shall fear God." So you see, it's much greater, he says, to refrain from this type of transgression than from actions. Why? Because the actions are more visible to the public eye. And therefore, to refrain from them is much less difficult. You have always the natural kind of impediment, which is embarrassment of other people of other people knowing. But transgressions that have to do with the heart, a person is able to overcome them, he gets much greater reward. Why? Because it's a lot easier to fake it. That was supposed to be a good jealousy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Why?
I think Yaakov he gave me so many calls it backfired.
You mean to say, what did he plan? He planned something that would seem like favoritism to Yosef in order to encourage the other sons to aspire to be like him? And that turned out not to be the case. Doesn't always work. You have to be very careful with that type of thing. You know, whether it's a Rabbi with students or whether it's a parent with children. Let's say a parent with children might want to praise one child among the others, not necessarily with the intention of, let's say, encouraging the others to be like this. He's simply praising the one child. Yeah, that itself can be very problematic, because when you're praising a child, particularly if it's a good child, and you praise him often because he's often good, the result is, even though you're not thinking about it, you might be causing jealousy among his siblings. And not everybody has the same personality, not everybody has the same character traits, not everybody has the same talents. And it could be definitely worthwhile to praise less than the child is deserving, or at least make an effort to refrain from praising around other children and do it privately, just because the others might be jealous. All the more so, a person is playing with fire when he praises one child, thinking that in a way he's kind of indirectly reprimanding for the other children who are not being praised. And a parent might do that. Praise one child, indirectly kind of reprimanding the others. What's the proof that they didn't get praised? Why? Because they didn't do it. So the parents say, well, if they had done the good job, they also would have gotten the compliment. And if they didn't do the good deed, they're not getting complimented. And if they feel bad about that, they understand it's because they didn't do the deed. The problem is, humans don't think that way, and children certainly don't think that way. What gets the best of them is the ill feeling that my brother or sister keeps getting praised, and I keep getting stung. So they end up developing a competition and animosity against the sibling, and even against the parent, which is not healthy, even though the parent thinks he's just instilling some healthy competition among the children. I don't think that's a good thing to do. It's not worth.
You should really parent them separate.
Yes, yes, which is very difficult when you're talking about a family with 5 children, 7 children, 8 children, 10 children. You're just not around, one child at a time. You're around all of them. It's very difficult to do this. But as I'm saying, even when it's not the parent's intention to indirectly kind of compare the one child to the other, he simply wants to praise the child for doing something good. He has to be very careful because the other ones hear it. Well, the more so he's playing with fire when he kind of says, Moshe, that was very good that you did that, knowing very well that he's kind of.
How come Yaakov was watching it?
Yeah, and you see how much Yaakov ultimately suffered himself because of that. Yeah, it's just not. It was a big tzaddik. Yeah, it could be al emes. It's true. Yaakov's midah was emes.
He thought they were on a higher madrega than
they were
like him.
He was expecting them to be on a higher madrega, or to be able to strive and attain that higher madrega. Yeah, but I don't think it's shaykh for us to think in those terms. We're not on that madrega. We can't expect our peers to be on that level, and certainly we can't expect children to be on that level. And therefore, it's we have to be very, very careful not to arouse jealousy among siblings. And the truth is, you can apply even to. I thought you meant Rebbe in the Gemara. You meant a Rebbe. That should, nowadays, again, the mentality nowadays is much different than in those times. In those times, people are on a higher madrega, and they were much more able to accept a hanhag of din. But today, there's no such thing as din, and everybody thinks that everything is coming to them on a silver platter. It's chesed v'rachamim, and you can't criticize a person without padding it with padding upon padding and padding. Even if it's constructive criticism, you have to be. It's not worth it to dabble into those things. But yes, of course, if that being said, if a Rebbe's in a class and there's a student who is being intentionally antagonistic, then the person should try and kind of, in a pleasant, kind way, give the person the message that the appropriate is inappropriate. If that doesn't help, you should pull him aside after class and say to him, not sure exactly why you were saying what you said and the way you said it, but it seems to me it's not appropriate, and I really have to request that you not do that in my class. And the person continues, then at some point you have to put him in his place. And that's happened to me even sometimes, where it's gotten to a point where I say being in class is voluntary. You're an adult. You don't have to be here. But if you do want to be here, it requires a certain level of behavior. And if you're not able to maintain that, then I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Please leave. Think about it, and if you can conduct yourself appropriately, then you're certainly welcome back. You don't have to be here. So there's no point in being here and disturbing. Better than you not be here. You don't have to. Nobody's forcing you. But again, I personally would, not want to get to that situation unless it was an extreme. But I would start to say another scenario where you might be praising young children. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so adorable. Oh, did you see Moshe said the Aleph base, and his 6-year-old brother is feeling, what's he getting all of this praise about the Aleph base? I know the Aleph base backward and forward. Nobody's praising me. He doesn't think that. He doesn't think that. What he wants is the praise. What he wants is the praise. Right. So he'll start saying the Aleph base, and so he'll start saying the Aleph base. So Moshe, the Aleph base, Gimel. What's the next letter? And so the it kicks in. Demonstrate everybody. So the parents. So the parent is likely to say, "Shut up." Of course, you know the Aleph base. Give him a chance. Go ahead. Yeah. So that's unfortunate. That's insensitive because what the child is in is kind of a crisis. His younger brother is getting all the attention for doing something which seems so obvious and simple to him, and he's getting no recognition for the things that he does. So, in order to get the recognition that he desires, he jumps into his young brother's stead. Because only if you know the Aleph base you get the praise, right? And then what happens is his parents not only don't praise him for saying the Aleph base, they tell him to shut up and get out of the way and enable them to continue showing attention to the other brother who he's jealous of in the first place. There are a lot of things happening in that very simple dynamic. And therefore it's very important when you're praising young children, and we commonly praise and exaggerate our praise with young children more than with older children. It's very important to recognize they're older children, and they all have to be recognized for the things that they do right as well. Yeah. So you could even say, Shimi knows the Aleph base wonderfully. He could even be a Rebbe for Moshe, teach Moshe how to do the Aleph base. Shimi, let's hear how Moshe does the Aleph base. So now you've kept him quiet, right? You give him the recognition that he wants, right? And you've also already, from the outset, given him the incentive to stay quiet so that Moshe can say the Aleph base and still get the praise for it. Everybody feels good, right? Or he's going to tell us the Aleph base, and then Moshe is going to tell us by heart the Mishnah that he learns. Everyone according to it. Yeah, but as a child progresses, and it's also true, even with adults, we're much less likely to kind of altruistically praise and show recognition to adults, because adults are adults. If we want to butter somebody up, then we might praise them, but otherwise, you don't just compliment an adult. He's an adult. Of course he can walk and chew gum at the same time. He's an adult. He doesn't need that type of, but that's not true. Adults also need recognition, and they also need compliments, and they also need praises. Right? So it's important to be, to recognize people's needs and things. And in any case, this is all because this is all centered around the discussion of jealousy, being aware of the fact that it's a natural human tendency that the author has said everybody's got, nobody can escape, and therefore it's worth being aware of how it comes to play in our interpersonal relationships.
Many clothes to Joseph, only didn't know what's going to happen.
Didn't he know it was going to happen? I don't have a great answer to that question. Yeah. Yeah, and what's interesting is after everything that happened to Yosef as a result of that seeming favoritism, Yosef himself gave a double portion to Binyamin.
They corrected it. That was the test.
That was the test.
They finished. They passed that.
Yeah. But Kilo.
They overcame it at that time.
Well, but is that the right thing to do? To show that favoritism? Or was that just just a test that they could accept the favoritism? And they did. But my point is, right, is there some, I'm getting at his question, which is, what was Yaakov thinking? And what was Yosef thinking? And is there some reason why you would show what seemed to be favoritism? Because that's the emes of Torah in that scenario?
Is that Yosef came from Rachel, and Rachel was his original wife. And he got, as much as he probably loved Leah after, but he got kind of pushed into that. From Shemayim, but still, at the end of the day, his original desire was Rachel.
Right.
And that was his first and only child for Rachel. He didn't even have another. So the natural consequence, this was my original wife. This was my original planned on son that I wanted to have with my original wife.
Yosef and Binyamin. Yeah, Yosef and Binyamin.
Right.
Yeah. But still, does that justify the double portion? I mean, we do. Did we speak? Did we speak about the? No, that was somebody else. And the Torah does give, a double portion to the Bechor, to the firstborn.
He was supposed to be the firstborn, though.
And he was the firstborn of the first wife, right? He was the firstborn of the first wife.
Reuben messed up.
Yeah. I'm just going to this. His question was like, what was Yaakov thinking? Why was he showing this favoritism? And I said, you find that Yosef also did so regarding Binyamin. So your answer was, well, that was presenting the test. The question was there a reason to show Binyamin the favoritism inherently, or was the value of doing so only for the test?
No, it's mercy. I'm not saying he's his brother from the same mother, but he was scared that they might have killed Binyamin as well originally, like they did to him. So his empathy towards him as someone who is could be in the same situation as him.
Yeah, but you're still doing something which appears to others as favoritism, and yes, right, that's right, and jealousy.
He wanted Yosef to come. I mean, Yosef wanted Binyamin to come down from the beginning. That was the part of his whole plan.
Right.
He said, don't see my face again until
Right.
Binyamin comes.
Right.
So I think the whole thing was in order to test him. Now, when he also sees his brother, I mean, I'm sure he knew through Nebuah that they all had to come down. To
Okay,
the
so
side.
only a test, and not because there was something inherently deserving in Binyamin to get a double portion.
Yeah.
So that's the question. What about the case of Yaakov and Yosef then? Yaakov was an ish tam, is ish emes. There must have been something al pi Torah that he was doing which he felt was right, even though, as he said, it backfired.
Maybe he knew Yosef was going to be tzaddik, and he like Kabbalah. Tzaddik is like
You should be given a greater
became part
portion.
of the spirah. That's like one of the craziest things to be. Like he was on the level of Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron. Like that's not something you get one portion. That's something, especially since that spirah represents bringing blessing into this world. So maybe he needed that extra in order to use it for more blessing.
Yeah, interesting. You find that the bracha to Yosef is really that. Yeah, that the bounty and the blessing and bringing this down into the world, into the Jewish people. Interesting question, but the issue of jealousy, is certainly relevant there. Certainly. So, yeah. Oh. Right. The son of the firstborn of the Snua. I mean, the son of the Ahuva over the firstborn of the Snua. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very powerful midah, this midah of kina. Yeah. Like it says, the kina motzin adam kina sofrim marbi chochma. On the other hand, it's
I think she will. Jealousy because there's more women than you. Really? You had to wake it up. And then once I woke up, and stop.
Very good.
No, but it's a very effective tool. That's what I think that's in Yaakov too.
Rabbi, your Rabbi.
You try to use it.
Your Rabbi meaning?
Davis.
Rabbi Davis.
Now the sister. Used it with us.
Very nice. So Rabbi Davis of Zutzal said that.
I have a practical consideration in regards to it. When people are jealous, let's say there's a poor man who is jealous of his rich neighbor. I don't think he's jealous, because I know we have the concept that it's all from Hashem and Hashem apportions everybody their lot, but I think it's more than that, because it extends into the fact that he's pained by the fact that, let's say, he's struggling in life. It's not only about, I'm jealous and I want what he has. It's, I'm jealous, but I'm also pained that I have to struggle so hard while he has it so easy. Everything is handed to him, silver platter, rich man, while I'm suffering over here, trying to make ends meet, and I don't even know if I'm going to have a meal for tomorrow. I think the jealousy also, to a degree, extends beyond just, I want what he has. It's a pain that he feels like he has while the other person doesn't have. So maybe it's like something that like an opposite type jealousy. I have something that's negative that he doesn't have. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't know. I'm just thinking about that situation.
Right.
You know.
I think in an
earlier,
I think in an earlier section here we kind of addressed that point as well, which is that the poor person might be jealous of the wealthy person on one level just because of the disparity in wealth. On another level, like you're suggesting, because he's got it easy and I've got it difficult. But the author said there, the person should think, again, that he really should not be looking at another person's lot and making any judgment about why he's there and why I'm here, because that's tantamount to calling into question God's judgments. So that for whatever reason, that person has what he has, the wealth and the easy life, and whatever reason I have is the poverty and the difficulty, and for whatever reason it may be. So I should not look at his wealth or compare his, let's say, serenity and my difficulties. Rather, this is my portion in lot. Now, given the situation that I have, I can try to improve it, but not because his is better, but because I think that it's a good thing that it be better, and I think that that having it better could help me serve Hashem better. Now, he makes the effort to try and effect that change. If he can, fine. If he can't, ultimately he has to recognize that it ultimately comes from Hashem, and he can't know the reason why. And he added extra explanation. In the end of the day, some of the points the author made here, is that very often a person who's wealthy and has it easy is an indication that he's spiritually actually in the red, and he's being paid off for his few good deeds here. This is something we spoke about at length a few sessions ago, right? Whereas very often a person who suffers here is an indication that he's in the green. But since there's no person who's perfect, he's working off his few misdeeds here in order to preserve for himself the greater reward there. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it, the author suggested, is that person who is poor and suffering should consider that he's being purified through that suffering. Another point that we discussed is that even though a wealthy person who seems to be living a serene life might not be happy at all, in fact, he might be suffering very much. And therefore, there's no point in comparing himself to the other, his seeming serenity and his seeming poverty, because there are plenty of poor people who are content. So rather than being upset because his seeming serenity and my palpable poverty, on the contrary, what I should do is rearrange my machshava, the Baal Shem Tov says, in order to make machshava into a state of besimcha, where the letters machshava equal besimcha. So these are 3 or 4 ideas that we suggested then, if you remember, to address that point. And it's a good point. So now, until now, we were talking about the negative manifestations of envy. From this point on, he's going to start talking about the more positive manifestations and how envy can use as an impetus for growth, which is what you were just talking about, Mordechai. So on Kuf Yud, last paragraph down, Afa Pisha Kina Himida Ra Me'od. Even though jealousy is a very bad attribute, Yesh Mokom Shehi Toiva Me'od V'Mida El Yonim Midas El Yonim. There are scenarios where it's actually a very elevated attribute, among the greatest. Sheyosim Kinoso Al Yirat Shemayim. If he places his envy regarding things having to do with the fear of heaven, Kinyan Shinemar, as it says, Al Yikone Libbecho Bechatoim. Don't have jealousy in your heart for those who transgress. Ki'im Beyiras Hashem Kol Hayom. Rather, be jealous of those who are God-fearing all of their days. If you want to be jealous of other people and attain what they have because they have it, do so regarding things of this nature. And in this way, our sages of blessed memory said, the envy that Torah scholars have for one another's success in Torah learning will ultimately have the result of increasing knowledge. Because if he knows more, and I want to know more because he knows more, then I know more, and others who look at me want to be like me will also know more. But the first one, who I emulated, seeing that I have now the degree of knowledge that he has, right, is going to want to know more, or emulate somebody who knows more than him, so that people are progressing, envying one another's Torah by leaps and bounds.
I think it's still slippery slope, because there's still that chance of, like, for example, Yosef, which obviously his father was praising him for his high ma'ala or whatever level he was at, and then his brothers still got angry at him. I mean, you can see it in the sense of some guy who's, let's say, achieving a lot, finishing, even though it's a good thing to be jealous of and want to grow from it, it could kind kind of start building resentment towards that person. Not, oh, I want to grow from him. So it's a slippery slope. Even though you may have the jealousy and it's for a good trait, that still may inadvertently flip on you and make you start hating him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, in the case of Yaakov, it might be slightly different because here, Yaakov was introducing this source of, let's say, jealousy from outside, where I think here we're talking about a person looking at another person, having the knowledge because they attained this Torah knowledge, and then wanting to envy that knowledge. So you can be envious of the knowledge and therefore want to attain that knowledge without disliking the person who has it. And that's the one thing. The second thing is, even if you used a good word, I don't remember exactly what it was, but even if it can backfire, here if the point is that you want to emulate a person's Yirat Shamayim, then what you're saying is you're going to do something, that what you're going to do is going to be in the spirit of Yirat Shamayim. So that it's true that perhaps if a person's really got bad midos, he's going to want to emulate this person's Torah knowledge, not because he wants the Torah knowledge, but because he wants the honor and the recognition of having that knowledge. And as a result, it might be intermingled with hatred and competition. But if what he's emulating is truly the Yirat Shamayim, so what he's saying is, I want the Yirat Shamayim that he has. And therefore, part of attaining the Yirat Shamayim that he has is doing so in a spirit of Yirat Shamayim, and not through hatred and competition and jealousy.
Maybe they were focusing on their against him too.
Yeah.
They were focused on the wrong.
Yeah.
And he had a king, was like a king.
Yeah.
Amongst the brothers, he was like the head.
That was like a king. Yeah. Yeah.
They probably they focused on the wrong parts.
Well, they also viewed him as the younger brother. He was the youngest. Yeah, he was the youngest.
So, anyway, whether you go to the bad side of it, or to the good side, there's no end. Like, if you go to the destructive side, there's no end until it destroys you, or once it destroys you, there's an end. But you could never, the more you're jealous, the more you'll be jealous, the more you'll be jealous. But if you're jealous for the good reasons, then it's almost endless, no? Because you just said, doing it for a good reason, so then, I don't know, you become a better person, and I don't know if you won't be jealous anymore, but it's like, you won't stop. You said this person will be jealous of someone who knows more than you.
Yeah.
And then it will just keep going.
Yeah, I don't think it means jealous in terms of the way we've been using jealousy until now, but the point it means he envies in a good way that he wants to attain that as well.
Yeah.
And that becomes an impetus for growth. And so that should be applicable on all levels. And the truth is, in the absence of that, a person might become complacent. Now, I don't think that Chazal mean to tell us that you should use envy, or that envy has to be the catalyst for growth. It could be that a person has impetus to grow even without envy. But envy at least can be used as in a positive way in this way. You don't necessarily have to envy other people's Torah knowledge. You can want to attain more knowledge just because you love Hashem and you want to get closer to Him independent of other people. Right? But if you are going to use envy, then this would be at least a positive way of expressing it.
I was thinking about the concept that we're talking about, like positive jealousy or envy, and I was thinking in my mind, what about the concept of inspiration or chizuk? That's, I guess, something that we are all familiar with. And I was thinking, so what's the distinction between getting chizuk or inspiration from somebody as opposed to jealousy? And I think that when I think about it, that maybe it's trying to say that once you're kind of jealous of his knowledge, like, oh, I want that, like you're coveting it, you kind of want it, it's in a sense a bad trait because you're wanting, like you're desiring, but at that point you could identify it and say, okay, I'm going to not do it in a negative way, I'm going to do it in a positive way. So you know what I'm saying? Like if you... And
that would be turning it into inspiration?
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. So the aspect of jealousy is something that, you want. But when you identify it and try to elevate it...
That's interesting.
Turn it to positive, you say, okay, I'm going to use my desire for his amount of knowledge as inspiration.
Very nice. So in other words, what you're recognizing his degree of, let's say, Torah knowledge or Yirat Shamayim, and envying it not because you want it per se to fulfill desire, but rather seeing it inspires you to want to be like that.
Right.
So it
Because
becomes
I think also
elevated from envy to inspiration.
Right, because I think also envy or jealousy is also something like, I want it more than him, or like, he has it, I want to be on the same page. It always has to do with that person. It's more of a competition, you know what I'm saying? Like, as opposed to inspiration, it's more of, I want to be on par.
Interesting, yeah, I like that. I hear that. That makes sense. So therefore, Kiddush Sofrim Tarbe Chochma. Ki'im Yirei Adam Shalomed. If you see a person who learns, Yispois Kinna Belibo V'Yomar, he can get a hold of this feeling of envy in his heart and say, Ze Lomed Kol Hayom. He's learning all day long. Gamani Ken. So I'll do the same thing, which does sound to me more like the language of inspiration, meaning I see he's learning he knows a lot. Where did that come from? From sitting and learning. You can't learn without sitting and learning. So I'm going to be and therefore that becomes for him like a source of inspiration to emulate sitting and learning more as well. V'chen le'inyan kol mitzvos, and so too with all the other mitzvos. You can be quote unquote envious of people. Lispos ma'aseh chavera v'tovim, in order to acquire the good deeds of other people, of one's friends. Im yirei rasha v'yesh bo mida echas tova, and even if you see a wicked person who's got, let's say, one good trait, yikaneu aloisei mida, he can be jealous for him in that one attribute. V'yaseh gamhu, and the result is that he'll be inspired to do that as well. So interestingly enough, you can even emulate the good deeds of the wicked.
They say, look at the businessman. They put so much hard work and effort to make the money. Use that effort to make your own spiritual.
Okay, very good. Yeah, very good. אבל מכאן וחברו שהוא עוסק בתורה ומעשים טובים ואינו מקנא בו שיחשוב זה עושה כך גם אני אעשה כן אלא יחשוב בליבו ויקנא בו מפני שיש בו מעלות טובות יוסר ממני מסכן ונכבד בעיני העולם יוסר ממני ומחשב תחבולות כדי לבטלו ולבלבלו מתורסו ומעשים טובים, הרי זויס הקנאה היא רעה גדולה והוא חוטא ומחטא שותפו של ירבעם בן נבט. But, and here he kind of summarizes the different things that we were saying. However, if he is jealous envious of his friend for his Torah learning or because of his good deeds, but this envy doesn't take the form of his thinking in his heart, he'll do it as well. If he does it, so I'll do it also. Rather, he thinks in his heart about this envy that he has, this person being better than me, and as a result of this, he gets more honor and glory and recognition in people's eyes than me. And because of this negative feeling, it's not positively turned into being inspired to be like him, but rather negatively turned against him to dislike him, then he thinks all types of plans and strategies in order to trip up and confuse the other person from his Torah learning and to prevent him from doing the good deeds. So such a person has a very bad form. This type of jealousy is very bad, and he sins and causes other people to sin, and such a person is like a partner with the wicked king, Yerovam ben Nevat, who, in order to gain power, glory, and recognition, prevented the Jewish people from leaving his northern kingdom of Israel in order to go to the southern kingdom of Israel, Jerusalem, in order to serve God in the temple, but rather set up his own temple and his own idols and had the Jewish people worship idols in his own forbidden temple in order for him to get the power and the glory. And this is all because of his...
I don't know if it was talking about him, but I know there's a piece in the Gemara where it's saying Hashem tells one of the kings, if you do teshuvah, you'll be in Gan Eden with me. And he's like, who are you walking with? And he's like, I'm going to be walking with Ben Yishai. And he's like, who's ahead? And he's like, oh, Ben Yishai. And he's like, oh, I don't want to partner.
Right.
So
yes, this is Yerovam ben Nevat.
So he didn't even want to do teshuvah because the jealousy was so strong.
Yeah, that's like we were talking about yesterday, that I'd rather suffer as long as he suffers than I benefit if he benefits more than me. So here he forgoes walking with Hashem in Gan Eden because he would be second to David, preferred not to have Gan Eden at all.
Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. You see that even a Talmid Chacham can be so consumed with jealousy, like Like Korach. Korach himself was a great Talmid Chacham. It has nothing to do with the person's intelligence. It's all about midos. It's all about midos. You can be very intelligent, and have a lot of Torah knowledge, but if you have bad midos, it's not worth anything. Destroy yourself and others. It's a midos. Derech Eretz Kadma LeTorah. All midos. It starts with midos. Lo'olam yichabed adam yorei shamayim v'oiskim b'mitzvahs. A person should always be careful to show honor and respect to people who are God-fearing and who engage in the Torah. V'yiten lehem yad, give them a helping hand. V'yisayeya lehem b'gufo u'v'mamono, and help them with his body and with his money. V'az yikanubo acherim v'yichshavu, and others will then want to emulate him and think, Im gam anachnu osim kach, if we were to do the same thing, yichabdu v'yazru gam lanu, so they will help us too. Umitoch kach shelo lishma ba lishma, and through these motives, even if they are with ulterior motives, but with these motives, he can also ultimately come to the right intention. I think what he's saying here is we should give honor to Torah scholars, so that our people say, "Hey, look at the honor Torah scholars get. I also want to be one." And just through seeking the honor that's due to a Torah scholar, he'll be inspired to become a Torah scholar. But hopefully, along the way, as he acquires more and more tolerant Torah knowledge, he will become purified of those bad midos. I guess there's no guarantee that will be the case, but that's the hope. Barasi Yetzer Hara, and Barasi Torah Tavlin. I created the Yetzer Hara, and I created the Torah like a Tavlin for the Yetzer Hara.
I was thinking like humility, like for example, Selective Tree puts humility as a very high trait to attain. So I mean, it seems that even if he wants to go this route, it's not guaranteed that he's.
It's not guaranteed, but hopefully, if he does ultimately, in other words, even though his intention is not entirely the Shema, it's not entirely correct and altruistic, but the Torah itself has a purifying and curing effect on the person, so that ultimately his desire for, let's say, for gaiva will ultimately be tempered, and he'll reach another. So really what's happening is follows. The emes is that the Talmid Chacham is deserving, according to the Torah, of all of this reward. But he himself, on the pedestal, should feel a great degree of anava. And he says, I know that people are not honoring me. They're honoring the Torah, which I have acquired. But it's not me they're honoring the Torah. They're honoring Hashem. So there's no reason why I should feel that I'm getting any of this honor. It's not for me. It's for Hashem. So they're showing him honor, but he feels humility. Person who's not the Torah scholar, what? Yeah, because he knows. Because
he has it's one thing.
No, it's not. There's Hashem, and then there's in the Torah, and I was fortunate to learn it, and I acquired the Torah. But people are not giving me the honor. They're honoring the Torah that I've learned. But both they and me are subordinate to Hashem. So right. So even though he's getting this honor and the respect, he's not taking it to heart. He doesn't take it personally. I have nothing to do with it. It's like, what's that? Yeah, it's like if you're walking with an important person, and people are showing all types of honors, so you might feel good that you're this person's friend, right? But that would be, you're taking like a piggyback. You're getting honor because of him. But if they're really truthful, you realize it's not me they're throwing the roses at. They're throwing it at him, right? Oh, I just happen to be here. In fact, I feel a bit out of place, you know. So the Torah scholar would I think that's the feeling that the Torah scholar would have. He's getting all of this honor because of the Torah that he is accompanying, but it's coming about not through him; it's through the Torah itself. In fact, the Torah scholar should feel a bit uncomfortable about this. I'd actually like to maybe step aside, you know. So the Torah scholar, he feels humility within the context of all this honor that he's getting. But the simple person is seeing all of the honor, not being a Torah scholar and thinking, wow, it'd be great to get all of that. But by the time he gets there, hopefully the Torah would have worked on him the way it worked on the Torah scholar, so that when he's there, he'll also feel the humility. And that shalom lishma, ba lishma. Even though he starts out with the intention lo lishma, the Torah will have the effect on him, so that ultimately it will be lishma. Yeah. Mekach shel lishma, ba lishma.
Moshe Rabbeinu knew how to separate it. He was most humility.
Yeah. Yeah, if he was aware of what he was writing at all, I imagine he wasn't very comfortable with writing, and Moshe was the most humble of men. He probably nullified himself so greatly in humility before Hashem that he didn't even realize what he was writing. But if he did, I imagine he would be very uncomfortable writing it. All right, let's stop here to give you a little bit of a break before the next class.